Superman was my most anticipated film of 2025, and honestly had so much weight on its shoulders, as really the entire fate of DC film adaptations all came down to this. If the DCU was going to succeed in any capacity, then Superman was gonna have to be a hit. And well, now that I've finally gotten the chance to watch the film, I certainly have some thoughts on it all. Off rip, this is going to be a spoiler-filled review, so if you haven't watched Superman yet, please go ahead and save this video to your watch later and click off. You've been warned. Starting off with my thoughts on all the acting performances, as these are some of the most iconic comic book characters of all time, I really liked David Corenswet as Superman. For me, Superman works best when he's sort of a corny, goofy, aw shucks kind of guy. Because he's so physically powerful and can do almost anything he sets his mind to, this sort of nerdy, kind-hearted persona is so important because it makes him likable. And when it came to capturing this integral aspect of Superman, I thought David absolutely killed it. Whenever he was on screen in the suit, I just always found myself with a massive grin on my face. He has an infectious and hopeful persona that I really enjoyed. Now, we didn't get a ton on the Clark Kent side of things. I think we only saw him at the Daily Planet as an employee once throughout the entire film. But the small amount of scenes that we did get of him as Clark were effective. Specifically, his heartfelt moment with his adopted parents just before the third act really hit me hard. And the end note of Superman watching footage of him with his adopted parents rather than the damaged message from his biological parents put a great bow on his character arc, as he finally realized that he's not defined by where he comes from, but rather who he chooses to be. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, in my opinion, was the standout performance in this film. He is a generational hater and essentially is an evil version of Tony Stark, a genius owner of a tech industry conglomerate who uses all of his intelligence and resources to take down and kill Superman rather than benefiting society. And I also love the fact that his obsession with alienating Superman and ruining his reputation was integral to Clark's character arc. Luthor in a lot of ways helped Superman accept his humanity. You've always been wrong about me, Luthor. I laugh, I cry, I love, I'm just as human as everyone else. That's my greatest strength. I loved this line so much because it really revealed that even though Clark could be a god if he wanted to, he certainly has the strength and abilities to conquer the planet. It's actually Lex Luthor who has the god complex. It's Lex who desires to rule over people and be universally praised. It's actually Lex, the actual human being, who lacks humanity. And it isn't Superman's super strength, super speed, ability to fly, or heat-ray vision that makes him better than Lex. It's his humanity that does. And to me, that's sort of the perfect relationship to have between these two characters. As far as the side characters go, I also really enjoyed Lois Lane in this film. I don't think I'm quite ready to say that this is the best iteration of Lois and Superman that we've gotten in film, but with a few more solid appearances, I do think that they'll eventually get there. I mainly just really liked how much autonomy Lois had here. She was very comfortable taking charge, and I feel like her persona and desire to actively save Clark and be part of the action really sold me on the fact that she is a great reporter, because those traits would also lend themselves to crafting and finding good news stories. She also had great chemistry with Clark throughout the movie. You trust everyone and think anyone you've ever met is beautiful. Maybe that's the real punk rock. I mean, that right there is a perfect Lois and Superman interaction. And yet again, I feel like that one brief sequence kind of sums up their entire journey as a couple throughout the film. When it comes to the Justice Gang, I liked their presence as a team because it helped make the world feel lived in, even despite the fact that this is the first time most viewers will be diving into the DCU. And Mr. Terrific was the standout of the three in my opinion. That action sequence with Lois in the force field was awesome. I love long takes like that where we just get to see all the action unfolding. And his very matter-of-fact and unsociable personality created plenty of funny moments. Guy Gardner similarly provided good comic relief in the film. He honestly didn't provide much outside of that, but you kind of need characters like him in movies like this. And with a haircut like that, I mean, come on now. you knew his ass was going to be comic relief. Hawkgirl definitely drew the short straw in terms of screen time out of the 3 Justice Gang members, but I thought she was fine enough. Since this is just the start of a cinematic universe, I'm confident Isabella Merced will get plenty more opportunities to shine in other projects. Getting into the story itself, I love that we just jump right into a Year 3 Superman. We've seen his origin story so many times that we didn't need to see the ship landing again or the destruction of Krypton. And this by far feels like the most comic booky of any comic book movie I've ever watched. It's as if we're just opening the page to a random comic and what ensues is a nice, relatively standalone story. It almost feels like an elongated episode of Superman the Animated Series. And I really hope this trend continues in the early stages of the DCU. Focusing on telling good, mostly standalone and character-driven stories is the key to getting all of us on board for this cinematic universe. This movie made me love this version of Superman, and that should really be the goal for all of these Phase 1 projects. Try to get us attached to at least one character in each of these movies, and soon enough, you'll have all of us hooked, and this new DCU will be a massive success. I know that I've been pretty overwhelmingly positive up to this point, but Superman 2025 is still far from a perfect film. While the directing was mostly good, there were a few action sequences where the camera work was a little shoddy. The CGI was also a little hit or miss, which is unfortunately just a common trope in big blockbusters these days. I also don't love how much damage was being done to Metropolis, primarily in the third act. One of my biggest issues with Man of Steel was just how much destruction Mr. I Can Save Them All was causing to his city. So to be fair, if you're gonna complain about it in that film, you gotta complain about it in here too. I mean, at one point Metropolis was literally splitting into 2. But in general, I do think the positives far outweigh the negatives within this film, and if you're complaining about Superman being an immigrant and somehow that making the film too woke, Superman has been an immigrant since his very first appearance in 1938. He's literally a displaced alien from another planet. If that's an issue for you, I think you need to get over yourself and that you're just looking for something to complain about in all honesty. To be frank, I think it's kind of ridiculous that I even have to address that point. But all in all, I'd give Superman 2025 a really solid 8 out of 10. It's not without its flaws, but I found myself wildly entertained. And honestly, this was probably my best theater experience since I saw No Way Home opening night. The crowd, including myself, loved it and literally gave a round of applause at the end of the film. And this movie has me very excited for what's to come from the DCU. Well, if you made it this far, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Superman. What do you think I got right? What do you think I got wrong? And what would you rate the film? I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider dropping a like and subscribing. Thank you for watching, and until next time, peace.